Hey everyone, it's Melanie. Welcome back to my channel. Today, my kids are on spring break. So I have decided to include for today's Friday how-to video a border video that I have in my Quilt Along group. So I decided to take a little bonus that I have for my premium course members and include that in today's video. It's basically how to put a border, the proper way to put a border on a quilt. So you make a quilt, you finish it up, but you want it a little bit bigger, you want to add a border to it. This is how you do that. And I wanted to show you, I have a new mini course available on my premium course site, which is melaniesmakers.com. But I think you guys will totally love it. It's this guy. It is the Jelly Roll Rail Fence quilt top. It's a mini course, so it's super affordable, only $5.99. And it's a jelly roll that I used for this quilt top. So it's a pre-cut, super easy. If you're a beginner quilter and you really like this pattern, then you can check that out. I'll have links in the description box, and then you can utilize today's video and put a border on it if you would like to. So you can see there's no sashing. I'll put another picture in here of the full quilt, so you can check that out below, but let's jump right in. I'm going to show you how to put borders on a quilt top.
So today I want to talk about putting borders on your quilt. So pretend like this is your entire quilt top. This is one of my orphan blocks that I dug out of my bin. This is going to be like the proper way to put on borders. Now I will be honest with you, I don't always go through all of these steps to put on my borders if I'm going to use any, but especially if you are going to be sending your quilt to a long armor, you really got to follow these instructions and this method so that your long armor doesn't have any trouble with rippling in your borders. So you may have noticed if you put borders on before that if your quilt is not square, you'll have rippling on the edges as you're doing your machine quilting. So that's why this method is helpful. Also, if your quilt block, you had some trouble with it, or you're a beginner and you're still sort of learning and your quilt is a little off, your borders can kind of help put it into square, and it can really help to kind of keep all of that like in check so that then you have a square quilt in the end. So the first thing that you want to do is put the sides on. So the way that you determine how long your sides need to be, and just expand this out to the size of your entire quilt top. This is just an appropriate size for on-camera purposes, but you're going to take 3 measurements. So use your tape measure, and you're going to take 3 measurements from the left, the middle, and the right. Okay, so mine are 14 and 9/16. The tiny little mark right after the 1/2 inch mark, that's a 9/16 mark. My middle measurement was 7/16, so that's the little mark right underneath the 1/2 inch mark. And then my third measurement was 9/16 again. So we're right about either side of the 1/2 inch mark. So you basically take all of those measurements and take the average. So I decided to cut mine to 14.5 because that's just a much easier measurement to work with. And we're talking, you know, just hairs here. So I cut mine to 14.5. So what that means is if you have any parts of your quilt that are a little bit longer or a little bit, you know, you're going to have to sort of tuck it in and ease it in to make sure that it all stays nice and square. So once you have that measurement, the next thing you got to do is quarter your quilt and your border. So you take your border, so your side, and I like the sides first because then I think that the top and the bottom going all the way the full length and the full width, I guess it would be, is just a better aesthetic. But really it could be done either way. So we're going to put a little finger press at the center mark. And then another finger press. So then we've got these marks. We'll do the same thing on the quilt, and then we can match those up and pin them into place so that we have everything good to go. You you can use one of these like bone folders if you want to. The center mark really should be that seam. If it's not that seam, you might have trouble. But this block, it's that seam. So now what we would do is place right sides together. Here's my center and my quarter marks. And you would pin those into place. Now, for example, if you have a little bit of the quilt coming off the edge, what you want to do is pin it to the edge. You shouldn't have, like a lot that you have to do this with. It'll just end up being maybe a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch. So what you'll do is you'll pin it to the edge and then you'll ease that extra in to the stitch. Okay, that way it kind of sucks it in and makes it so that that border helps to keep your quilt square. So that's how that works. Okay, and this side I was good. So that's why that can kind of help keep it all in square. Okay, so let's say you do that, you attach your sides with 1/4 inch seams, press them open. Then you're going to do the exact same thing to determine your bottom and your top measurements, but now you're going to be including your side border. So now your top will go the full width, your bottom will go the full width, and you need to include those measurements from that new side border that you've already attached. You'll do the exact same thing. Take your 3 measurements and determine how long that strip needs to be. You'll quarter it. You'll quarter this whole piece now. Pin that all in place and then make sure that everything is attached nicely. So that is like the, in air quotes, proper way of putting your borders on, and it really can help to make sure that your quilt stays square. Your long armer will thank you if you're going to have it sent out for a long arming. If you are feeling like your quilt top's pretty square, you kind of got the hang of this, you don't need to do those 3 measurements. You can go ahead and generally your center seam, the middle part of your quilt, is the measurement that you would want to go off of. Because when we get out to the edges, things can kind of fan out, things get a little bit stretched. So if you don't want to do the 3 measurements and you're kind of feeling like you know what's going on with your quilt, you can just take the measurement from the center of your quilt and use that as your measurement for your borders. Let me know in the comment section if you have any additional questions when it comes to this. If you want to piece your borders together, if you're doing a very large quilt, you can do a straight line seam or a bias seam, totally up to you. That's personal preference. And I also want to mention that so this is how it would look, because you did your sides first and then your top and bottom. If there's any little, there should only be a teeny bit that maybe comes out here, you can use your square ruler and make sure that this is a perfect 90-degree angle. You should be pretty good if you are following this method, but you can always just make little trims and adjustments if necessary. That's how you put borders on a quilt. I hope that was helpful, and have fun stitching.
All right, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section down below. If you like my videos, a thumbs up is a great way to sort of let me know that you like my videos, and it helps to kind of like get some feedback. You can check out my premium course page, melaniesbakers.com. Thanks for letting me include kind of a different kind of video for you today while my kids are on spring break, so I didn't have to work too much this week. If you want to follow along with our adventures in social media, I post on Insta stories and mostly on Snapchat. I love using Snapchat for like day in the life kind of stuff. It of course does some like crafty, quilty kind of stuff, but it includes a lot more things with my kids and sort of our daily life. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave my Snapchat name down below as well. Definitely don't feel like you have to follow me on Snapchat, but if you would like to connect with me in a little bit deeper way, that's a great place to follow along. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.